What is going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back for some more transfer talking concerning Leeds United and a little bit of West Ham too. Not gonna lie, it's a little bit West Ham adjacent today, and we'll get into that on the show today. Listen, I hope everyone's had a good weekend. I hope you're feeling good, smelling good. Weather's a bit warm outside, so take care of yourself. All right. Before we get into the show today, please hit a like on the video. It really does help out the channel. Best way to help out. Subscribe to the channel, and of course, if you're sensible, drop your comments below. Some thanks on the super thanks on the last video, guys. Much appreciated. Mr. P, is that Richard? Yeah, Richard Johnson, William Morrison, Liam Moore, Parrot House, as always, and Malcolm Patrick. Thank you so much for the support on the last video. Much appreciated, guys. So yeah, we're going to talk about Adam Hložek today, and we're going to talk about the links to Leeds United. We're going to talk about Summerville and a couple of other things as well. I think we're going to fade on this Joe Rodon thing as well. I'm going to speak about Joe Rodon as well in this one, and just talk about the market being reset by what's going on in the Premier League right now. I just want to get into that a little bit and just see what people's thoughts are on that. So listen, Carl, thank you for the super sticker. Much appreciated, Carl. Just straight in there with the support. Love that, love that. Thank you for that. And shout out to you, Callum. So listen, let's get into it. As Leeds United are linked with Bayer Leverkusen's Adam Hložek this summer. The Sunday Mirror reported that the 21-year-old, they say striker, but he's not a striker, people. The 21, we'll go with forward, is set to lead the German champions this summer, with Leeds, one of the clubs, set to be monitoring his situation, along with West Ham. So West Ham are also looking, and there's a rumored price of around 12 million. So it's probably going to be less than that, I would say. And you know what? The thing is with this kind of link, it kind of matches up with the list that I got in terms of a winger at a certain price point, but will get paid very handsomely if they were to join. Now, people will be saying, why would a champion of Germany, who's just won with Leverkusen, won the cup double as well in the German Cup, why would he come to Leeds United? Well, he's not really a main player there. He's been used more of a sub, and he's been playing more the attacking midfield role at Leverkusen when he does come on, whereas he naturally is more of an attacking midfielder stroke left. Now, it makes sense in the way that we're linked to this guy, because if Summerville goes, we're going to need a first choice left winger. And that's where I think he comes into it, because if he's coming, let's be real, if we're signing somebody like this, he's coming to be first choice. You know, there's competition for places, of course, but when you're asking someone that's just literally won the German league, no matter the role he played, to come and play championship football, if he was to join, he's going to need assurances that he's going to get at least a good run in the team to prove that he's worth it. Now, listen, a lot of other people will probably remember Hložek being a wonder kid on games. That's what I remember him for. Obviously, he's gone to Leverkusen. The competition's heavy there. They're a very, very good side, as that's been proven, invincible this season. So it's been tough for him to break through. Now, where West Ham come into it is, if West Ham come in for him, I think it's game over. I think he goes to the Premier League. But this is the thing again. If a top club doesn't come in and Leeds United are the ones, he may look at Leeds United as an avenue as to get to the Premier League. Because if he comes here in the Championship as well, the way that he plays, listen, the guy is quick, he's very physical. What we need, people, he's good in the air, and he loves a long shot. He loves to take long shots, and we need that, people. I need that. We need that. So he kind of fits exactly where we're going. And I don't know whether he's being linked because of the links to, let me get this guy's name, because Jordan Miles. Because Jordan Miles is obviously at Leeds United recruiting, and he was at West Ham when they recruited both Souček and Soufal, the two Czech guys there. So you just think, is that where the link is? Is that why we're possibly being looking at this guy? And maybe Jordan Miles will have it in with this guy if he was to come, because of his relationship with the previous two. So maybe there is a link there, and of course Farker will like him, and with all the Bundesliga's links. Sean saying, sounds tasty, KG, good morning. True. Luke saying, I've missed long shots. Yeah, man, I've missed them. And listen, Georgie tries, doesn't he, Luke? He tries. They just don't go on target that often. But with Hložek, it would make a lot of sense. We obviously know we're not going to get like the tricky, taking on player wingers like Summerville back. It's just not possible, I don't think, unless you're going obscure and you can get someone a gem that no one knows about. It's like, oh, who's this guy? This kind of makes sense for me. This does make sense if we were to go for him, but I don't believe this is the only option. But the price point being around 12 million makes a lot of sense as well. And I'll tell you what, I promise, because I did ask my guy, and when we do actually sign a winger on a permanent deal, I'm gonna show you the message and the price points of what we've looked out for and what we've sent out to agents in terms of what our limits are. Okay, I will say that. Darren saying seems impossible though. Would he really come to the championship? It's not impossible, Darren. It obviously if other clubs come into the race that are at a high level and they throw down the money, then yeah, you're probably looking at it. It's a real long shot. But if Leeds United are aggressive enough, if they get in there early enough and show him how much they want him, tell him the project about getting up to the Premier League where he will have a role there. Because again, let me just say this: I think he translates to the Premier League, so that's not a problem. You're not just getting a player for now and you worry about him in the Premier League. I believe that he's got the capabilities to play Premier League football just from his early potential. So you can sell him that project. And we've seen players come to the championship before. Yes, it was before the worldwide pandemic, like a Ruben Neves, who the agent was very instrumental. And that's where I think we'd be looking at Jordan Miles to be instrumental in terms of bringing in this Czech player. He can say, look at my previous successes. This is what I'm hoping to get from you. And you think of other Czech players that have done well. And I know it shouldn't be a nationality thing, but you think of what's that one we was linked with before? Vidra, from Watford. You remember was we linked with Vidra? He was seen in Leeds Station or something like that, and he didn't end up coming. But you've seen there's been a pretty good success rate when it comes to Czech players, and I think the way he's physical and everything else, it suits the championship big time. So I can see why Leeds have profiled him and see him as a potential replacement for Summerville. Yeah, Mike saying Hložek is a career mode legend, 85 potential, very high upside. That's why I remember him, Mike. I lost track of him, because I do like watching some Bundesliga, but it's not heavy for me. I prefer League and even Serie A. But yeah, he hasn't featured too much, but don't let that dissuade you. Leverkusen is a powerhouse, and they've got top players all over the place. Wirtz, just to name one. So it was going to be tough for him to break through, and that's probably why he's looking for a fresh start. That is why he's looking for a fresh start. He's won his medals, but he wants more regular football, and that makes sense. So we'll keep an eye on this one. West Ham are the competition. And speaking of which, West Ham, they have joined the Summerville sweepstakes, according to a few publications. So West Ham looking also throwing their hat in the ring for Crysencio Summerville, which would make sense in terms of what they're looking for, how they're trying to rebuild, how Lopetegui likes to play football. Makes a whole lot of sense if they were interested. Can they afford what Leeds United are looking for? That's a completely different question. But West Ham are going to be involved in the sweepstakes. And also they need to look out for if Paqueta gets a serious ban. Paqueta, who was close to go Man City. It's funny how these things work, isn't it? He's not able to go Man City. They then get Mateus Nunes from Wolves. But Paqueta, who's been brilliant for West Ham, he could be facing a lifetime ban due to the betting things. So that's something for them to look out for. But yeah, West Ham going in for Summerville. We'll see if that leads to anything. But it does not surprise me if West Ham are in the race. And we've just seen as well, people. I don't know if everyone knows, but Elise is going to Bayern Munich. His release clause has been triggered by Bayern Munich. He's going there. So Elise from Crystal Palace and Palace are going to have money to play with. Are they going to be interested in Summerville? I've always said Summerville to Palace just makes too much sense for me. But we'll see the other clubs that are in for him, because obviously there are bigger clubs than Palace looking at Summerville, and he may want to try himself there. But again, it's all about Palace. If they go in for Summerville hot and heavy and say, this is how much we want you, you're going to be in, week out. I don't see if he says no to that. I don't. So yeah, there's Summerville. And you listen, and we're staying on West Ham, people. They are heavily involved in this, not only with Hložek and Summerville, but we've spoken about Ryan Sessegnon previously. And this is from West Ham sources. West Ham are still keeping an eye on Ryan Sessegnon and are considering making the out-of-contract player an offer. He could be invited to join West Ham for the start of pre-season. He can play anywhere on the left flank and is homegrown, which will help the quota. And that's what I wanted to bring up, because obviously Ryan Sessegnon, we know there's big risks there. But, you know, he's saying that he's never felt better after his I think he had double hamstring surgery, which just scares the life out of me. But we've seen Kevin De Bruyne also come back from hamstring surgery, and he seems to be playing fine. You just have to manage him a bit better. But as a free transfer, people, I know I've always said, if you get 20 to 25 games out of this guy in the championship, I think you've done very well. I think you've done excellent. You think of Sam Byram, how many games we got out of him in the end. That was amazing how we managed, you know, to get so much out of him. If you're getting that out of a player like Ryan Sessegnon, who is a difference maker, especially at this level, then it would be a slam dunk to sign him. But the injury history and the worry is there. And I think that's why, you know, looking at West Ham, they're looking to, you know, take him on like a trial in the summer makes sense. But if we were looking at him, because we are looking for a left back, you know, it would make sense. But it looks like West Ham and other Premier League teams as well are going to be looking at Sessegnon, which probably reduces our chances of getting him. And just on the thing with Summerville, just quickly back on Summerville, because somebody said in a comment, they said that he's more likely to, because when he was linked to Brighton, because obviously Brighton have made contact with Leeds about Summerville, they said that he's probably going to get more regular football at Brighton than Liverpool. And I just threw it back to him that he's got more of a chance playing for Liverpool than Brighton, which sounds crazy, but Luis Diaz, for me, doesn't do nothing for me. He's another chaos baller, and Liverpool have got two of them, him and Darwin Núñez, just chaos players that they'll get past the 2-3 players, but then you don't know what you're getting on that final third action. That shot may go in the crowd, it may hit the post, it may trickle into the goalkeeper's arms. They're just very, very, very spotty. And I do believe Summerville, if Liverpool were to come in for him, has got way more of a chance of getting that left wing spot and moving Diaz out. I can see Liverpool probably selling Diaz if they were to get Summerville, because they've still got Diogo Jota there. I know he plays a little central sometimes, but Jota can play from the left, but he's very injury prone. Good player, but very injury prone. So it's just funny, isn't it? I think people think because it's Brighton, oh, he's got more of a chance there. But Mitoma is pretty good. But Mitoma does go cold for stretches, so Summerville would go back in there. But I'm just saying, Luis Diaz isn't the player that I think people think he is. I think he ended with like 8 goals and 5 assists, something like that. That's pretty poor in that Liverpool attack, gotta say. Nabino, how old is Ryan Sessegnon? He's only 24. Let me just double check that. Let me just double check that. I think he's only 24. Ryan Sessegnon. Here we go. Yeah, he's 24. Literally just turned 24 in May. So yeah, he's still young. He's still young. It's just that breakout season that he had at Fulham was when he was like 16, and he was just ripping. He tore this league apart. It was ridiculous what he did to this league. Goals and assists. And yeah, he was different. He was different gravy, and that's why Spurs invested so heavily in him. But it just didn't work out for him there due to form, injuries, and everything else. But you know, he's saying he's better than ever. But listen, we'll wait and see. I don't even know if we're in for Ryan Sessegnon. Just wanted to give an update because he's been a name that's been mentioned a lot. Elmi saying, KG, it seems stubborn Farker doesn't have any trust on Joseph. I do think he does, Mohammed. We'll see this season. Again, just to clarify, Hložek is not a striker. Even though you will see for Leverkusen, they've used him as a striker and attacking midfielder. That's just where he could fit in when he managed to get minutes. He's naturally an attacking midfielder. He's not a striker in any shape, way, or form. He's more of an attacking midfielder. So it doesn't, for me, this move doesn't affect the striker positions. It's still Joseph and Peru for me, and hopefully still moving on Bamford. We're going to keep putting that out in the atmosphere. But this is more of a Summerville replacement for me, or one of the Summerville replacements, because obviously we would need to get somebody else in as well as a backup as well, or as rotation. Cy in the house, WAFLK. There we go. I get it, Cy. I get it, Cy. Thank you for the support, my man. Always supporting, man. Appreciate you a lot, of course. So there we are. There is Sessegnon. Right. So let's move on now to Joe Rodon. And I've got to say, with this Joe Rodon thing, I think I'm coming to the end of this in terms of mentioning him. unless he signs for us, which obviously would be a whole different matter. It just seems like that Joe Rodon is destined for the Premier League at this point. And there's been multiple reports. I'm just going to, get the summary here. Tottenham will try and reach an agreement with Southampton in order to exchange Joe Rodon for Carlos Alcaraz. Alcaraz is worth 30 million, while Joe Rodon is worth 10. So it just seems like Tottenham are looking to offload him, but it does seem Joe Rodon is destined to stay to head to the Premier League after just a brilliant year in the Championship. So for me at this point, I don't know how anyone else feels, I just feel like we need to move on at this point. I think that, as I've said before, we needed to set a date for ourselves, not just give Joe Rodon a date to say, when are you going to make a decision? I feel Leeds United should do that and move on to other centre-back targets, because they're out there, people. There are absolutely centre-backs out there. And I just feel Joe Rodon is going to have a crack at the Premier League, which he deserves. He's entitled to. He's earned the opportunity. But it's now on Leeds United. I think we should move on. Yeah. What are people saying? No, he went out on loan, Darren. He just went out on loan. Because Bella Kopchap is back as well, but I think he's going back out again. Let's have a look. Carlos saying, I'd go for another player on loan. Plenty of options out of the year. That's where I am, Carlos. And I've already mentioned a few names. Chris saying, I'm bored of the Rodon saga already. Ronnie Edwards has a much higher ceiling and is good now. Move on, get him before Stoke do. Yeah, Ronnie Edwards, is a long time target of mine. That's what I'm saying. With his Deli, Edwards, there's other players out there, and even more that I'm not mentioning, people. The scouting network is large, it's huge. So there are other players out there. I just feel now, let Rodon get his Premier League move, but Leeds United need to move on from this one, in my opinion. Yeah, Mike, that's not happening, Mike. I hear you, Mike. I got you. Love to see Bella Kotchap in the Leeds shirt. I rate him. Yeah, he's good. He's good, but I think he's heading back out to another European team. I think he's probably heading to another team that's playing European football as well. So, yeah, that's where his ceiling is, Mike. But I hear what you're saying. Owen in asking any more about Cooper and Shackleton contracts. Nothing at this moment in time. Owen, no word if Liam Cooper's going to re-sign. Obviously, Scotland have been knocked out of the Euros, so maybe we'll get more clarification there. Shackleton has apparently got other options besides Leeds, so it's up to Shackleton really. Does he want to play regular first team football, or is he happy just sitting on the bench being a nothing part player? So we'll wait and see. When anything is discussed, we'll obviously come back on the channel and discuss it. Darren saying, I would also prefer we move on fast and get business done. It's not like we're waiting on Maldini. Yeah, listen, again, I'm not going to underplay what Joe Rodon and how important he was for us last season, but there are so many other options out there. I absolutely understand what Darren's saying. This isn't a deal breaker here where if we don't sign him, we're never going to get promoted. There are other defenders out there that can help us 100%, 100. And yeah, Bob saying get Ampadu back in midfield, 100%. Yeah, we need Ampadu back there. He's our first choice defensive midfielder for me. Don't want to see him back in central defense unless it's like a real in case of emergency. And when I say that, that means all of our centre backs are out of commission, not having two centre backs that are fit and available, but don't use them. And I get him not using Liam Cooper. I really do. But Charlie Creswell was there, but he doesn't like him and trust him. So yeah, keep Ampadu in midfield. Chris King is saying with Nonto links. Yeah, I'm not just to clarify. I know Nonto's been linked with moves here and there, but it's not from any sources that I would like to share on my channel. So I'm going to leave it until it's like a bit more concrete with Nonto. But yes, he does have loose links out there. But Chris King is saying with Nonto link swap deal with Deli and Williams our way. I think he means Nico Williams with Sessegnon, Edwards too. That would be solid. If only the club knew as well as us, KG. Well. Yeah, listen, budgets, everything else. It's always easy for us, though. I'll always say this. Look, I'm not defending the club, but it's always easy for us on the outside to say, why don't we do this? Like I say with you, Chris, and everyone else. Why don't we just sell Melier for a good price, get in Rodon on a free, or try and get Strakosha on loan from Brentford? And you're laughing. But we know it's not as easy as that. And there's competition for players like that, signatures, aren't they? So it's not always that easy. But yeah, there's just easy business out there to do, even in the situation we're in, being in the second year of the Championship. There are ways of getting business done. And I think Leeds will do it. But I do believe that it's all to do with PSR, people. I do think that after the 30th, we'll see more activity. And speaking of which, people, I want to talk about this before we go. Let me just close a few links. While I'm closing the tabs, if you haven't already, please like the video. It really does help out the channel. So if you haven't done that, please do that. So yeah, I just want to talk about that. We're talking about PSR because it does, affect us and it affects every team. But we're seeing at this moment in time, and I'm not going to get up all the moves. I've just picked one. But you're seeing in the Premier League right now, clubs are doing business with each other in terms of homegrown players and players that have come through their academies in order to circumvent the PSR rules. Let's be real. Because Amari Kellyman, I'll be real with you, not just because I've never heard of him, but I believe he's played about 50 minutes of professional football. He's going to Chelsea on a 6-year deal for 19 million. Yeah. And there's other deals going around. All of a sudden, Newcastle interested in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who can't stay fit for Tuffy, or the pun intended. Like, what is the point of this PSR if you're just going to get deals like this done? Because let's face it, if there was no PSR, Chelsea are not looking at Amari Kellerman for 19 million pounds. Absolutely not. But he looks good on both books because it's a homegrown transfer. Goes Villa, helps them out immensely. We're already seen Villa having to sell Douglas Luiz for 20 million, and they're getting 2 players in exchange. It just, this system obviously isn't working, and now you're getting clubs doing deals like this. Newcastle doing, and I think Newcastle have got a player they're looking to release to another club in terms of helping their PSR. It's just all a mess, people. But my question is, does this affect the transfer fees going forward, or do clubs just recognize they're just doing that for PSR? Because let's face it, we're looking at Omari Kellerman here, 19 million. Who is to say, and I don't want this to happen, I'm just putting this out, I'm just saying, if we were to ask for 35 million for Mateo Joseph, we're not crazy. We're not insane, because we'll say, oh, hey, Amari Kellerman has just moved on a 6-year deal for 19 million. Joseph is much more well known than this guy. Yeah, we're asking for 35. But what it is, people, is I don't think it's going to work that way. I think clubs will look at it and see, these guys are just playing the PSR game. This don't reset anything. But now it just looks insane seeing this player go for 19. And then we're going to probably see Summerville go for what, 30? Just 10 million more? It looks mad. It looks mad, people. So that's why I'm saying with this PSR system, it needs a reset. It needs a reset. All it does is help out the big boys that get infinite sponsorships and everything else, just worldwide revenue from the fan bases and everything else. Only helps those guys because it keeps everyone else down. You've just got Villa getting into the Champions League. They can't even buy properly because they've got to, hit by the deadline, be PSR compliant. It's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, obviously, Darren. Yeah, 100. The game in the system. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it affects the game in the long term in terms of what clubs will ask for. Like us with Somerville, we're not just going to look at this and go, wait a minute, Kellyman for 19. No, we need 40, 50 for Somerville. I don't think it's going to affect the game like that. And that's the worry. That's the worry, because we're going to probably see this scenario if the rules aren't changed next summer, when another accounting period comes to an end, and clubs are like, oh, we'll help you out of this one, help us out with this one. It's insane, people. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, that's all I wanted to put out there. It's just the system is a mess, and it's crazy because Leeds are part of the problem with that because of what we did with the finances back in the day. We are partly responsible for this. But it's time to renew the system, because this is just a joke now, and everyone can see right through it. 100. Carlos saying, if I'm a top club, I take the points deduction rather than sell my best players. Of course, teams more modest can't do the same. Yeah, exactly, Carlos. Look, Forest last year, even though they appealed, they were laughing with that 4 points deduction. They said, you know what? Look at the 3 teams below us. We're cool. We're Gucci this year. We'll take the deduction. Get lost. For me, what I would say though is, if we're going to do that when we go up, get players that are difference makers. Don't just buy in bulk, buy quality, and make sure that you get enough points so that even if you get hit with 10, you know what I mean? Just gets to put some extra on it for Leeds United. Even if you get hit with 10, it's like, well, so what? So what? because at this point in time, it is worth the risk, especially if you believe that there's going to be 3 teams worse than you, like there was last year. I mean, it was clear as day those 3 teams were coming straight back down, clear as day. That's why Forest were just like, all right, 4 points. All right, then, thanks. It was cool, wasn't it? I would do the same, Carlos. Yeah, exactly, Darren. They gambled and they won 100%. Forest did all that madness. They're having to sell these players on now for lesser fees because they, quite frankly, they had a bloated squad. But they won. They won. They're in the Premier League for another season and they're cool. They won it. They absolutely did what they had to do, and you've got to say well done to them. You know, people say it's cheating, but it's not cheating if you get away with it, and they did. Sheffield United, on the other hand, are starting this year. I believe they're starting with a points deduction in this division. Can't remember how much it is, but they didn't get away with it. But theirs was more because they weren't paying domestic bills and all that crazy stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Sean wants it to go back to old school. I'm with you, Sean. Make it all like FIFA, and clubs can spend whatever their owners have got. I'm with you, Sean. But you know what? This is where we were part of the problem in this kind of situation. We did that, and then look what happened to us because we didn't qualify for Champions League one year. We first of all we sacked David O'Leary, which was insane. And then we had to start selling our assets because we're going out of business. It's different though these days with all the money that's in football now, all these years later. If clubs don't have it, then I believe it should be on them. I don't think it should be governed the way it is, but that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, no fan wants to see their club go out of business. All you would have to do is just hope that your owners have got the best interests at heart and won't put the club in that kind of position. That's what I would say anyway. Mike saying drunk driving didn't get pulled over. Yeah, no Justin Timberlake, man. Got pulled over, man. It's all mad. Oh, Darren, don't start this. How about like the US use a draft system? Worst team get the best player in the draft, yeah? Yeah, I don't think that would wash over here, Darren. I don't think they would like it at all. So, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, listen, people, that is it. Yeah, we kept this show under 30 minutes. That was the plan. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, if there's anything else, anything else major that props up, you know, I'll obviously come back. But that is it for the show today. Drop your thoughts on anything discussed today, whether it's Hložek, Summerville, Sessegnon, Joe Rodon, where you stand on that. Very interested to hear. Yeah, listen, Sean already answering for probably 90% of people, Darren. No way. Yeah, they just would not like it. And shout out to everyone that joined me this afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. Please like the video before you go. I'll see you in the next one, people. Be good. Peace out.